Hello, sports fans. This is Scott.
And I'm Ash, and this is the Extra Point Podcast, where we bring you sports from a generational perspective.
Today, we're going to analyze the Atlanta Braves.
A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Swing and fly ball. Deep right. Are you kidding me? And there's the 2-2. He got it. 34 years. What?
Welcome back to the Extra Point Podcast. We're so happy to be back. But before we get into this podcast, both of us would like to say thank you guys so much for all the support that we received. It surpassed our expectations, so thank you guys on our behalf.
Mega kudos to you guys.
Yeah. So we hope that you enjoy this podcast and the future ones to come.
Now, in today's podcast, we're doing our analysis of the Atlanta Braves to this point of the season. Atlanta has #1 record in baseball, best team in baseball. We're going to start off with the catching position. Catching position has been a very pleasant surprise this year. They got Sean Murphy from the Oakland Athletics. He's their primary catcher, doing about 2/3 of the games. They still retain Travis d'Arnaud, catching about 1/3 of the games. d'Arnaud, he played last year. He's putting up better numbers this year. Murphy, though, his numbers are impressive. My bud Ashby's going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing great hitting and catching. So for hitting, he has a .295 batting average, which is killing it. He has 17 home runs and 55 RBIs, and that is just impressive. Like you said, he's just putting up amazing numbers. Travis d'Arnaud, he has a .273 batting average, so slightly lower than Sean Murphy. He only has 8 home runs and 23 RBIs, but put together, these two players are unstoppable.
A thing I want to point out also is their salaries. Sean Murphy, primary catcher, 2/3 of the games, making only $4 million. In baseball numbers, that's a tiny salary. d'Arnaud is making twice what Murphy makes. He's making $8 million.
And especially only playing for 1/3 of the game.
1/3 of the games. He's playing half as much, but making twice as much as Murphy. And that wraps up the catching position. Continuing our analysis of the Braves, we're going to the first base position, manned by Matt Olson, and my man Ashby is going to take over.
So Matt Olson, you don't hear about him a lot, but now you are. He has a .259 batting average, and you know, about a little over a month ago, he was batting at around .220. And I know that you mentioned that to me, regression to the mean. He's normally a career .260 hitter. You know, he went down on a cold streak to about .220, and he is putting himself back up there. He actually leads the National League in home runs and RBIs. He has 30 home runs and 76 RBIs, and he's number 2 with homers and RBIs in the entire MLB. So that's awesome. Not much to say about him, but
one other thing, he's a good fielding first baseman too. You get hitting and fielding with Matt Olson.
Yeah. Glad to see that he's putting himself back up there. And now moving over to second base, everybody's favorite, Ozzie Albies.
Ozzie Albies. I love Ozzie Albies. Ozzie Albies is a small guy like me, 5'8". Hits for power, though. The man has got 22 home runs and 66 RBIs to go along with a .269 batting average to this point of the year. He was recently played in the All-Star game. He's a good fielding shortstop, and what makes him so great for the Braves is his salary for this year is only $7 million, and they've got him wrapped up for another 5 years. Somehow, Alex Anthopoulos is able to get these guys on the Braves to sign these very team-friendly contracts. Now we're going over to the shortstop position.
So for a shortstop, he is very underrated. Once Dansby Swanson got traded to the Chicago Cubs, they put in Vaughn Grissom as the shortstop. There were 3 options. They chose Vaughn Grissom. Error after error after error. So then they took him out and put in Orlando Arcia. And all I can say is that the man is great. He has a .295 batting average, 7 home runs, and 29 RBIs. And he has a great arm. He knows when to get the ball, when to get the ball and where to get the ball. So that's just awesome. Moving over to third base.
It's my man Austin Riley, another Brave that I really like. Austin Riley, he's having a sort of a strange year for him this year. Usually he's sort of a streaky hitter, has cold streaks, hot streaks, but this year he's just been very consistent, about a .260 hitter. He's got, I think it's 16 home runs, 43 RBIs, which is a low number for him compared to the last 2 years, but I have absolutely no doubt he's going to have a hot streak here in the last 3 months of the season, and I would not be shocked if he hits 90 RBI and possibly 30 home runs when it's all said and done. Plus, I think he's actually a good fielder. It's hard playing third base.
It is. I'm not complaining at all that he hasn't had any cold streaks or hot streaks, but hopefully he gets a hot streak going into the playoffs. Mentioning something that I talked about earlier, the errors. The errors this year for the Braves, it's pitiful looking at the numbers. They're struggling with fielding this year, and that's concerning. Vaughn Grissom had 6 errors. My bad, 6 errors. Orlando Arcia has 6 errors as well, but it's over more of a widespread period of time. But you look at these errors, and they're going from anywhere from 1 to 8, and that is just not the Atlanta Braves.
Traditionally, the Braves are a very good fielding team. They've got more errors than usual, but it does seem like they're starting to clean their act up, both in the infield and the outfield when it comes to errors. Now, that concludes us talking about the infield. Now we're going to the outfield.
So wrapping up the infield, now we're going to be moving to the outfield. Take it away.
In the outfield, we're going to start with the left field, and that is our man Eddie Rosario. Eddie Rosario is hitting about .250, got about 15 homers, around 45, 44 RBIs. Not great numbers, but they're not poor numbers either. He's been a steady influence. Now his fielding needs a little bit more work on it, but considering what we had last year, it's been a pleasant surprise what Eddie is doing in left field. And now my man Ashby is going to take over center field.
Center field, we have Magic Mike, Michael Harris II. He has a .258.
Oh, 258, okay.
And he has 9 home runs and 27 RBIs.
Plus, he's a great fielder. Right? He covers a lot of ground out there in center field.
He's great. And, he has the name Magic Mike for a reason. He can come in and score that game-winning run.
One thing I want to add is he got off to an atrocious start at the beginning of the year. He was injured at the beginning of the year. He came back, and his batting, he was in the 100s for a couple of weeks. But he got his groove back. And he's gotten that batting average up to what again?
258.
258, that's a solid batting average. And one thing that you will notice about the Braves, from number 1 hitter Acuna to the number 9 hitter Harris, they can all hit for power. They've almost, I think every starter for the Braves now is a double-digit home run people.
And I know, you mentioned this to me a little bit ago, but when you see the type of home runs that they're putting up, the first thought that comes to your mind is these people are swinging for the fences. And, when you're swinging for the fences, trying to get these home runs, you normally see a lot of strikeouts. But the Braves have not had that many strikeouts this season.
I believe they're 24th in the league for strikeouts, which places them in the bottom half, which is where you want to be for strikeouts. You don't want to lead the league in strikeouts. You want to be at the bottom of the league in strikeouts.
So, it's just great that they can swing for power and get it over there and not have as many strikeouts as you'll see other teams having when, they purposely try to swing for the fences. And now, moving into right field, everyone's favorite, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Ronald Acuna is having an MVP year. We're going to have a trivia question that you can answer in the comments here. Ronald Acuna reminds me a lot of a person who played a few years ago who was referred to as the straw that stirs the drink. Who was the straw that stirs the drink? That's the trivia question.
Leave your answers in the comments below, and we will shout out a few of the correct winners, and we will reveal the correct answer in the next podcast.
Now, Ronald Acuna, man, he's been on fire from day one. He's got a high 330 average. He's got 23 home runs. I believe he's got 60 RBIs. 58 RBIs. Considering that he is a leadoff hitters usually aren't RBI guys because nobody's on base when they start the game. But he's having a great year. He leads the league in stolen bases.
That's something that I want to. He is awesome. He has 43 stolen bases, and that.
Bases?
43 stolen bases, and he shows no signs of letting up, and that is, record holding titles.
He definitely has a shot at being the first person ever in baseball with 40 plus home runs and 70 plus stolen bases. Never been done during the history of baseball. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that's had 40 home runs and 60 stolen bases. Again, the man is having an MVP type season, and he's got, again, for people like me, his salary is $17 million this year. That's a lot of money. But in baseball, $17 million for what he's producing, that's a pretty good salary for the Braves. And that ends the outfield.
So we just wrapped up the outfield. Now we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Braves pitching. So super early on in the season, we lost our two best pitchers, Max Fried and Kyle Wright. Luckily, Max Fried is expected to come back soon. He had a rehab assignment pitching for
Class A Rome this past Saturday,
which is a Braves minor league affiliate, for your information. But Kyle Wright, I don't have hope for him coming back. And if he does, it'll be later on in the season, possibly early September, but it's not looking bright for him. But for Max Fried, hoping that he has a nice, speedy recovery and will be back in the game in just a few days.
Now, let's talk about the good. Braves have two very young pitchers. One is in his second year. The other one is a rookie who have carried this team. That would be Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder. Spencer Strider, he had a great rookie year last year. He's a strikeout master. He leads both leagues in strikeouts.
With 176.
176 strikeouts. The man can strike people out. He had a little blip early in about the middle of the season so far where his ERA jumped up over 4, but in his last 6 games, he has pulled that ERA back down. He currently has a record of, I believe, 11-2.
11-3.
11-3. So, and Bryce Elder, this is his rookie year. He pitched a little bit last year, but this is his true rookie year, and the man has done a fantastic job. I've been concerned about the Braves starting pitching so far this year, but you can't argue with the results. Braves lead Major League Baseball in ERA at this point, team ERA. They're doing good.
They're doing great. Bryce Elder, he has 80 strikeouts, but for the 18 games he has played, that's great. So you can't really complain about his strikeouts when he's only played 18 games.
Yeah, he's averaging about 5 strikeouts a game, which is above average. What's not below average, it's very much above average, is his ERA. For a period of time, he was leading the league in ERA. Again, rookie pitcher, he has really been a revelation for the Braves this year.
And he is definitely showing that he deserves to be out on the mound.
And before we forget, let's talk about the old man on the rotation. That's Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton is now 38 years old, I believe. He's been pitching a long time. He's having a good year. He's only on a 1-year contract. I believe his salary is $20 million. But Braves have no commitments to him after this year. He is the glue that holds this pitching staff together. His experience and wisdom is rubbing off on the other players on the pitching staff.
Yeah, for sure. Now, relief pitching. Don't have much complaints for relief pitching, especially because relief pitchers only play a good couple, maybe a few more innings.
But I'm sort of used to this. So the last 3-4 years, the Braves have given me numerous heart attacks late in games with their relief pitching, but they seem to pull it out the majority of the time. Rafael Iglesias, he is the ninth. He's our bullpen closer. He's had games where he gave up the
Raphael.
house.
Raphael.
Did I say Raphael?
No, you said Raphael.
Raphael.
No, you were talking about many heart attacks. Georgia, Ohio State.
Georgia, Ohio State. That was a heart attack moment last year. But the Braves relief pitching, it's been solid. I mean, it's not. I won't say it's the best in baseball, but it is solid. It's in the upper third of the league.
Talking about Rafael Iglesias, he is great, especially because of the pressure. Closing out a game, you have a lot of pressure, especially if your team is down by a few runs or tied. You got to get the strikeout. You got
to keep them from scoring.
You got to keep the opposing team from scoring. But he's done a great job at doing just that. A great job under pressure.
Now, the last thing we want to talk about is the person who's put all of this together, Alex Anthopoulos. Alex Anthopoulos came to the Braves about 4 years ago, and the man is a master at wheeling and dealing. Very few times has he made a mistake in trades. He's brilliant at taking those players that nobody else wants. They've still got some baseball left in them, contributing to the team. I never thought I would see a manager-GM combo as good as Bobby Cox and I'm having a senior moment.
Alex Anthopoulos.
No?
Oh.
The Braves manager way back in the day, a general manager. Bobby Cox was a manager. Schuerholz was a GM. But this current GM and manager we got now, if they can stand the test of time, they might become the best manager-GM combo in Braves history.
And that wraps up today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. But before you leave, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and make sure to turn on those notifications so you never miss any of our uploads.
And we'll see you guys next week.